anthem, while Lib Dem MEPs wore yellow bollocks to Brexit T-shirts. So joining us from both sides of those rather colourful scenes, the Brexit Party's Brian Monteith, the Lib Dem MEP Martin Horwood. Let me start with you, Brian Monteith. What on earth did you think that you were doing? Were you told to do this?
Well, in fact, we were sitting down at the point we were told to stand up for the national anthem. Well, this is not a national anthem. This is a lovely piece of music by Beethoven that has been purloined to try and replicate an anthem for the European superstate that the Federalists wish to build. So we did stand up, but we could not respect this. And so we chose to have a dignified, silent protest by turning our backs on the drive towards federalism. And that's what we did. And then we sat down and took part in the proceedings.
I wonder why you'd worry about somebody telling you to do something. You don't normally worry what Europe tells you. You know how to behave,
Who said we were
don't
worried?
you?
I just think it's very simple. We're being accused of disrespect. The truth is, the disrespect is coming from the politicians who want to have a second referendum, who want to overturn the result of which the British people put us in place for.
So no one...
that's the disrespect that we're fighting.
So no one in the EU Parliament then? I mean, literally no one in the EU Parliament. You were sending that signal to completely the wrong people in the wrong Parliament. That's to do with your...
No, we were sending it to the people. I actually think you need to attend the Parliament yourself. That Parliament is full of people who wish to actually remove the nation states from the whole of Europe. They want to build a federal United States of Europe, and the army, the flag and the national anthem are all part of that. And that's what the British people have rejected, and we were showing that face to them.
So don't go. I mean, it's perfectly easy.
No, we have to go. No, we should go. We should go. We should go, because if we didn't go, then it would be populated only by people who would be the fifth column for overturning our democratic decision. It would be populated by people who want to have a second referendum and reject the vote of the 17.4 million people. Why should we leave the field bare for people who reject British democracy?
Just clarify
That's not our
something.
job.
Just clarify something for our viewers, because you are clearly horrified by the EU Parliament and everything it stands for. Just clarify that you don't take a salary from that Parliament and expenses, will you?
Of course I take a salary. I've made significant financial sacrifice, as have many of my colleagues,
take the salary
to be
from a
there,
place
to
that you
protest.
despise, that you don't want to be part of.
No, of course we'll take
that
the
you
salary.
Can't behave in.
The salary is respectfully ours because it's paid for by British taxpayers who have put us there to be there for their voice.
No,
and
you
so
chose to be elected.
No problem.
You chose to be elected to a Parliament you don't believe in.
The salary.
OK.
Of course of course, that's why I stood. And people knew I was standing for that Parliament.
There's a perfectly simple way to respond. Sinn Féin, as you well know, don't take their seats and they don't turn up. And neither do they take their salary.
We're certainly not Sinn Féin.
I'm just saying there's a precedent for how to behave if you don't want to be part of a Parliament.
It's absolutely nothing like Sinn Féin.
You've done this before, haven't you? This stunt, whatever it was. I think last time it was in 2014 with the Front National of France.
I wasn't there in 2014. I wasn't there in 2014. I don't think I actually did that.
It's been done
in 2014,
before.
I was fighting the Scottish referendum.
OK.
I'm afraid you're wrong there.
Brian Monteith, just clear something up for us, because I know you applied, didn't you, as an MEP with a French address saying that you would move to the northeast. Have you now moved? You've moved out of France and you're now... resident in the northeast of England?
It's very interesting you raise that, because, of course, it's another Remainer distraction.
No,
the rules allow me to stand. The rules allow me to stand as a candidate from my French address.
So you still live in
and that
France?
was in the public domain. That was in the public domain, and I made it plain that that's where I stayed.
Right, so
and, of course, as I also made plain, I was in the process of moving to the UK, and that process is actually happening. And I will be in the UK in the not-too-distant future.
Okay, but
it's a side issue. It makes no difference.
Right, you're a member of the Brexit Party of England and an MEP in the Parliament that you don't want to sit in, living in France.
You know, there have been Labour MPs in my area in the North East who've lived in France. There have been Scottish politicians like David Steele who stood for a seat in the European Union, not in the UK. It happens all the time. That happens to be the rules. It is a sidetracked issue from sore losers.
Thank you very much, Brian Monteith. Let's go to Martin Horde, who's a Lib Dem. What was the point of your bollocks to Brexit T-shirt? Was that a protest?
Well, it was a very clear statement, and actually it had "Stop Brexit" on the front. So the other slogan was on the back. But "Stop Brexit" is our very clear message. It's the slogan on which we stood in the election, and we're very clear. We're here to play a full part. We'll be, unlike the Brexit Party, not turning our backs on Europe, but actually trying to influence Europe and the European Union to be friends to Britain and to serve the interests of British people, and in my case, the people of the southwest of England. That's what we're here for.
You're preaching to the choir. You're talking to the EU Parliament. That was a puerile stunt. Have we got to the place where we can't use arguments anymore? We've stopped using proper words. We just wear sweary T-shirts.
Well, we are making the arguments as well, of course. We're taking part in all the meetings of the European Parliament. We'll be playing a full part in the committees on issues like climate change, on trade, on biodiversity, on energy, on consumer rights, on all the things that will affect us, actually, whether we leave or not, because we want access to the market in the European Union, and if we leave, we'll have no say in those things. So we're making sure that we have a British voice heard in the Parliament, as well as wearing bright, colourful T-shirts that get you talking about it in the media. So that was a result, really, wasn't it?
Well, colourful T-shirts that look like we've dragged our own backyard squabbles into a place with 750 MEPs, all talking about pretty serious stuff.
Not at all, Emily. Actually, do you know Not at all, Emily. Other members of the European Parliament wanted selfies with us. They were applauding us for wearing those T-shirts. They thought it was a refreshing change from Mr Farage and his negative stunts and his rudeness, and people turning their backs on a band singing an anthem. I mean, you called it a puerile stunt, but actually my kids are perfectly entitled to wear T-shirts with political slogans on. I'd quite encourage that. I think that's part of democracy. But if they ever turned their back on someone who was playing music and singing and standing in respect for democracy, then I would tell them off something terrible, actually. That would be appalling behaviour.
Let me just ask you about Ursula von der Leyen, who we understand is going to be the new EU President Commission. She is a proud federalist. She wants to accelerate plans, we understand, in her own words, for an EU army. You're throwing your lot in with someone who wants a super state, essentially.
Well, let's be clear. Ms von der Leyen is being appointed by as President of the Commission. We don't actually have the final say in that, and she's from the largest party in the Parliament, which is the Conservative European People's Party. She wasn't our pick. Our pick was Margrethe Vestager.
So when you say stop Brexit,
the liberal choice for Commission, Emily, the liberal choice for Commission President was Margrethe Vestager, who it looks like may get a Vice President position, and that's very good. And it's good to have two women, isn't it, in such positions of power in Europe. That's a very positive step. And just to be clear, we don't support a European army, but at a time when we've got Putin taking chunks out of Europe to the east, and you've got such an unreliable ally in Donald Trump, who's questioned the future of NATO,
in 2011,
then it's good to talk about defence cooperation in Europe.
She said, my goal is the United States of Europe.
Security debate for us to have across Europe.
My goal is the United States of Europe. Should that worry us?
Well, Churchill said that as well. So, no, I don't think it should worry us. And I don't think the point is to build what your other guest called a super-state. Nobody wants that in Europe. Everybody respects the nation-state. We want decentralisation of some powers, and Liberals have always been in favour of having democracy at different levels. It's not complicated, really.
We've run out of time.
You exercise power on things like climate change, which